Welcome back to another episode of Dropping the Gloves. It is Wednesday. It is a beautiful morning. John, you're calling from the road once again. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I tell you what, I'm enjoying the break of having to kick off the show. It's a lot of pressure. I just get to listen to you. Now I know why you smile every time because it's nice. It's nice to have someone introduce you and all that stuff. I'm doing great, Tim. Thank you for asking. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. I was up too late. This is the thing. I was hoping Florida would win last night because for the main reason of just these games are keeping me up way past my bedtime. Basketball's over. Hockey needs to be over so I can start going to bed at 9:30 every night again and get back into my routine. But I watched the game. I'm a little tired today, but I'm feeling good. You say after the game?
Do you want to know how my game watching experience went? We went to a water park. The kids went to the music camp. We went to a water park right afterwards. We closed that son of a gun down. Like they're saying the locker rooms are closing, you have to leave. We went to a restaurant right afterwards, right across the street. Great Italian restaurant. By the funny moment, we have 8 kids with us because we brought our girl's friend with us. And the waiter comes over, so we order like 4 or 5 huge entrees of spaghetti and masticholi and meatballs and this sort of thing. And he's like, you should get a pizza too. You know, we have really good pizzas here. So we order pizza, traditional Italian. The guy, our waiter, is from Italy, the southern part of Italy. And he goes, "What do you want on your pizza?" I go, "Why don't I have a pineapple?" The look he gave me when I said pineapple, it could have killed me if it was so just disgusted, the look on his face. And he honestly said, he's like, he even made an audible sound. He went, "Oh, what? Oh." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Oh, pineapple, sir." No, 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 no. Like, not, they didn't even have it in the restaurant. And so he was just the judgment was real. So we didn't have a pineapple pizza, but it was a lot of fun. But anyways, back to the game. We did the restaurant. We came home. The kids just zonked right out because they were moving all day. We didn't get home till like 7-ish. And then I watched the first period midway through the second, and then I fell asleep at like 8:30 my time because I'm in central time zone here. And then I woke up at 2 a.m., had to shield all the scores on my phone, went on ESPN Plus and watched it at 2 a.m. until 4 to finish up the game. So yeah, I did watch the game, but it was in an unconventional way. So back to my story. Yeah, we were rudely interrupted, hence the pause there. One of my children got a poop, so I had to change it to. Yeah, so I woke up at 2 a.m., fired on the ESPN Plus app, tried to cover up all the scores successfully, by the way, and watched the rest of the game. And it was an exciting game because when I left it, it was, I believe, 2-0, 3-0 Oilers. And so I figured, oh, you know what? It was 3-1. And after Tkachuk scored that 3-1 goal, I almost texted you, next goal wins. Because I felt like if it was going to be 3-2 Florida would come back to win. And lo and behold, it was next goal wins because Edmonton scored the 4-1 goal. But yeah, I don't mind the late games. I think it's fine. I want this series to go 7. I don't think it will. If you were betting with me on Bet365 for this series, you would be a rich man or woman. I think I only missed one game. I thought they would split in Florida potentially, but yeah. Telling you what, Tim, I'm on it. I'm on a roll. Feel pretty good.
Well, you mentioned Bet365. Let's talk about them real quick because this episode is brought to you by Bet365. They are the proud partner of Dropping the Gloves. Open an account with Bet365 today. Bet on a huge range of hockey markets, all right now focused on the Stanley Cup Finals. So whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Use promo code HOCKEYCA. So, John, obviously you kind of buried the lead there. The Oilers took Game 5. It's now 2 in a row, and I think last night was the best and most entertaining game of the series so far.
Yeah, I think as a whole, both teams played pretty well. And it's funny how there are moments in each game, and they actually touched on it in the broadcast, which I think that they did a good job. Everybody was totally down on Florida's start. I feel like Florida had a good first period. As a whole, all in all, I thought they were playing pretty well defensively. I thought they were really clicking on offense. The thing that ruined them is they didn't capitalize on that first chance by Aaron Ekblad. Stuart Skinner, for whatever reason, is playing lights out. Not for whatever reason. He's a good goaltender. He's making some really highlight reel saves, and now he's done it 2 games in a row. Clear-cut mirror image saves on Verhaeghe, and then now last night on Ekblad just coming across. And these guys aren't fanning on their shots, Tim, like you would typically do on a shot for a wide open net. They're getting everything on these shots, and Skinner comes across, and he's just stoning them. So I think the Florida Panthers players are starting to get a little frustrated a little bit. You can sense it in their just composure and how they're carrying themselves on the ice. After that Ekblad, they zoomed right in on him, and he's just like, come on. Like, what are we doing here? And then they go down, and again, a mirror image to him. I'm sure you're going to touch on it now. I don't have the agenda in front of me, but a shorthanded goal. Like, what are we doing if we're the Florida Panthers? We're shooting ourselves in the foot because up until that point, dominant. Absolutely dominant first 5, 6, 7 minutes of that period. The Florida Panthers to a T. That's how they wanted to start.
Yeah, and you kind of get the sense now that something's happening. Like the series is turning around. It's not just a couple of games because these were, I mean, they weren't dominant wins. Maybe obviously game 4 was, but last night was still a statement win, I think, because Bobrovsky's starting to look beatable. McDavid's looking unstoppable. And you're getting into all of that. I mean, the special teams, like you mentioned, you let in a shorthanded goal for the second game in a row. Oilers also scored 2 on the power play. Panthers didn't get anything on the power play. It came out -3 in the combined special teams, which is one of the things, if you look at, like in retrospect, at all these series in the Cup winners, it's always special teams battles is a huge factor in who comes out the victor. And right now, everything is swinging the momentum in Edmonton's way.
And that's playing out just like this in this Stanley Cup Finals, where it seems like whatever team wins the special teams battle in that game wins the game. And last night was a clear-cut reason, and so was game 4. I don't know. I can't wrap my head around how you can give up 2 shorthanded goals in consecutive games on similar plays. You pick the puck up through the middle if you're Connor Brown, and you just go down and score. The game 4, he obviously gave it up to Janmark, but you have to know better. It's just as a no-brainer. Your power play is not your strong suit if you're the Panthers, obviously. So at this point in the season, you just are trying to break even. You're -1 in goal differential when you're up a man. The Oilers have 2 shorthandies. I think you do have 1 power play goal. You have to be more careful with the puck. You can't just be throwing it away. So there's no benefit to him. If I'm the Panthers, we got to make that pass. We got to go D to D. We got to do this. We got to make this risky play. It's 0-0 in the first period, and you're dominating the play. Why even give the Oilers any hope or any glimpse of life or momentum by doing a cross-ice pass when you know Connor Brown's poaching it? Because he did it the game before. So it was maddening to watch, and you just shake your head. But how is this possible? You're at home. You're giving up a shorthanded goal again. And then you could sell the Oilers after that. We're like, here we go. And then the momentum completely shift after that goal.
And a huge part of that is the play from Bobrovsky, who's now let in 9 goals on his last 39 shots, which is just insane. 769 save percentage in his last 2 starts. And it's something like 650 since going back to the third period of game 3 when the Oilers had a couple. So we thought, we said on Monday that game 4 was a bit of a fluke. Edmonton's obviously not going to go down without a fight. Everyone's due for a bad game. Bobrovsky, we kind of brushed it off. Now it's 2 in a row. What's the level of concern on his play for the rest of the series?
Well, obviously he needs to. I think the bar was set pretty high with him for the first 3 games, where he was playing historically good and making insane saves he had no business making. So I think he put himself in a position where he was bound to fail, and that's what's happened. Yeah, game 4 was an albatross. So he gave up a lot of bad goals and obviously got yanked. And last night, I don't think he's at fault for any of these goals. Maybe the first goal versus Connor Brown. He beats him to the far post and he tucks it in. Other than that, obviously the McDavid goal on the ice through the skates. That one should have 100% been saved. But I think as a whole, it's just been, Edmonton's playing really well. They're generating offense. They're pressuring the Florida Panthers. They're getting power plays. They're just putting pucks in the net. It is what it is. And then they get an empty netter right at the end of the game to ice it away. So Bob will be fine. I think if he was a younger goaltender, like a Stuart Skinner, this could weigh on him. The guy's won 2 Vezines. He's been around the block. He's 35 years old. This won't flap him as much as it would a younger goaltender. So I fully expect him to come in for game 6 at Edmonton and play fantastic. Like he is capable of throwing a donut on the board and just dominating a game. That's the type of goaltender that I think he is. So I'm not worried about him if I'm Paul Maurice. I got a lot of other worries that I need to worry about, and that starts with the power play.
Starts with the power play, but you also have to factor what's happening on the other end of the ice. When we had Jason Gregor on last week, he said basically, like, he obviously is from Edmonton. He wants the Oilers to win, but he said the longer the series goes, the more you bet on the best players. And right now that's Connor McDavid. And you look at what he's done, like it's basically historic. I'm going to read some stats here that just put in some perspective and context on what he's done. So 4 points last night. He now has 42 in the postseason. The NHL record is Gretzky with 47. And we all kind of thought that like Gretzky and Lemieux and those guys were doing something that would never be repeated in like this era, the salary cap, the way the game is called. He's one of only three people, Gretzky and Lemieux, to score 40 plus in a single playoff run. And no one has ever recorded back-to-back 4-point games in the Stanley Cup final until last night. McDavid did that. So what he's doing is historic. He's putting himself on a whole nother tier. And I think to Gregor's point, like you can't bet against him in games 6 and 7.
Yeah, and did you mention he set the assist record in the NHL in the postseason? So that's his. And to think that he's passing guys like Lemieux and Gretzky, you always put those guys in rarefied air, where it's like, oh, no one's ever going to pass Gretzky. He was the greatest it's ever been. You guys, we could be watching the greatest player ever to play the game, ever, in our generation, in our era. It's really fun to think of because we've had glimpses, we've had players come in. Oh, is Kaner going to be that guy? It's okay now. No, not him, but Sidney Crosby. Okay, now it's not him. It's Ovechkin. Oh, maybe it's Stamkos. This is the guy. If you watch him, and I do too, on the ice. So every time he touches a puck, it's electrifying, and that's not even understating the issue. It's so fun to watch him pick the puck up in his zone and just zip through players. It's effortless. It seems like that game-winning goal that he slides across to Corey Perry. No other person on the planet could do that. With the speed, the composure, and the puck presence and awareness. So you don't have to stick handle sometimes. You just slowly slide the puck through. And the D-man miss it, and the four. It's amazing. Go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, no, it was a great goal. And I saw a tweet last night. I don't remember who sent it, but basically comparing McDavid to Gretzky. And Gretzky's still the greatest, he admitted. But like what he did was beat people with like deception and hockey IQ and doing things that you didn't see coming and seeing the ice in a way that no one maybe has ever seen. McDavid's dominating on like pure skill and talent alone.
Yeah.
And like just going through guys in a way that people really have not been able to do consistently. It's a totally different type of dominance. And he's not saying McDavid's better than Gretzky or greater than Gretzky, but it's a totally different approach that we're seeing every single time he touches the puck at this point.
Well, McDavid, I'll say this. He's a better hockey player than Wayne Gretzky ever was. Like, hands down. Like, top to bottom. He's faster. He's got better hands, his skill, his shot, everything. I think where Gretzky exceeded it was in an era where people didn't really study the game. Like you mentioned, people didn't, analyze this and that. Wayne Gretzky's dad, Walter, would have him watch a game and put a piece of pencil on a paper, and he would trace where the puck would go throughout the game. And after the game, he would look down on that piece of paper and he'd go, where has the puck been and where is it going to go? Where is your pencil the darkest on this paper? It was the corners, it was a slot. So Wayne knew those are high traffic areas. Those are the areas that I need to live or anticipate to go to get this puck. Players do that all the time now. So I think that this era of player is just their hockey knowledge is through the roof because that's all they do. They watch videos. They have coaches. Back in Wayne's age, they didn't have that. So his dad really had to help him. So that's where he had a huge advantage. But McDavid's playing fantastic. And I think because he is so dominant, Tim, we're understating how good Evan Bouchard has been. He just set the record for defenseman points in a postseason. And to set that record with the likes of Paul Coffey and Bobby Orr and Ray Bourque and Phil Housley and all these offensive-minded defensemen, that's incredible.
Yeah.
I think no one's talking about him just because how dominant McDavid's been, but he's his Robin to McDavid's Batman.
Yeah, sorry to correct you. He's not the record. He's third now. He's got 31. He's behind Brian Leetch with 34 and Paul Coffey with 37.
Yes, this record then or something?
Maybe. Yeah, maybe the assist record. And basically, it's rarefied air either way, any way you slice it. And we talked about on Monday, too, like the narrative has flipped now in game 4 and 5, where McDavid probably is the front runner for the Conn Smythe, regardless of who wins at this point, unless Bobrovsky has like a 40 save shutout in game 6 and that's it, then there's an argument. But before we move on from this game, I just want to ask you, like, what all the momentum is going Edmonton's way. They're playing out at home. What goes in the mindset of a player when there's a huge momentum shift like this? Because Florida is basically thinking we only have to win one of the next 2, but Edmonton's got they feel like they've got the upper hand now. What's going on in their minds?
Oh, 100% Edmonton has the advantage. They're excited. They won the last 2. They clawed their way back into the series. Going back to Edmonton, they're going home on this plane. They're jacked up. They're like, one more win, it's game 7. That's it. Like, we are back in the series. If the series goes to 7, there's always a game 6 that's tied 3-2. Doesn't matter how you got there. You could have split the first 2. You could have went 1-1, 3-1. Doesn't matter that you started 3-0. You're 3-2 now. So this is very excited. They have wrestled back home ice advantage. So now you're on par. This is how it's supposed to go. And for the Florida Panthers, they're nervous. You did not want to go back to Edmonton. Now you're just, and you start to question yourself, like, are we going to blow a 3-0 lead? Are we going to go down in history as one of those teams who has blown a 3-0 lead in the Stanley Cup Finals, which has only been done once in 1942 with the Toronto Maple Leafs? Like, that's a big deal. And so they're starting to question themselves, and it's a huge issue. It's going to be, what is going on? Huh? So you're interrupting my prestigious podcast to ask about chocolate milk? Yes, you can. Yeah. Sorry. She needed to know if she could have chocolate milk at 9:30 in the morning, and we're on vacation. So I said yes. But yeah, it's pretty neat to see this happening in real time, to go to 3-2. I don't want to get to my predictions just yet, but it's I don't know. It's fun to watch. Sorry, she just blew my train of thought there. I was on a roll. I was going to come down with some sprinkles of knowledge.
No, that's okay. So, obviously.
No, I do want to say one thing. As great as McDavid's been and Bouchard's been, and these players, the player on the Oilers who has been invisible is Draisaitl. I feel like he needs to pick his game up. I know McDavid will continue to be successful. If they want to win the cup, he has to show some signs of life, because every game I watch, he has glimpses here and there. It's the McDavid show. He's the guy who jumps off the page at me. And on the other side of the ice, for the Florida Panthers, where's Reinhart and where is Verhaeghe? I see them getting chances. I see them getting shots. They don't do anything else. They need to score goals. Reinhart got 54 in the regular season, 57 in the regular season. He needs to step up. I know Verhaeghe's second in goals in the NHL. He hasn't scored at all this series. He needs to step. He might have one. He needs to step it up in order for the Panthers to go. Because when I watched that Panthers game, 2 lines, maybe 3, I noticed. I noticed a Tkachuk and Barkov and Rodriguez line. I noticed a Lundell, Luosterainen, and Tarasenko. And then the 4th line does a good job. Stylin and Okposo and now Lomberg last night, they were okay. Where is your first line? Where is the heavy hitters? I want to see those guys go out, and I want to see them score goals, and I want to see them get into the action. Because right now it's Verhaeghe, Reinhart, Barkov. You're invisible. Maybe not Barkov, but those 2 guys need to step it up. So there's a lot of players for the Panthers who can step it up, and those 2 guys definitely need to play better, because I feel like everyone's playing okay, but it's just McDavid. And to put a bow on this on my end, at what point, if you're Paul Maurice, do you just shadow Connor McDavid? Right? You know their game plan, and when he winds it up in his own end, everybody on the Oilers is trying to get him the puck. So at what point, Tim, if you're the coach, if you're Maurice, you say, okay, Lundell, Barkov, Luosterainen, whoever is on the ice, just shadow him. Go with them. I don't care if they're on a power play. We'll go 4-on-3. If it's 5-on-5, you go with them. We know what their game plan is. It's to get him the puck with a ton of speed, and then he just picks us apart. When do you do it?
Well, if you're going to do it, you have to do it in game 6. You don't want to be making a major X and O change in game 7 with everything on the line, and it could go either way. You've got to do it now, or you've got to just continue playing your game and hoping that you guys step up and you get a little bit of puck luck and you get a goal from a Reinhart, Verhaeghe, Bennett, whatever. The other thing to remember too is obviously Oilers dominated game 4 at home 8-1, but Florida has been the best team on the road in this entire postseason. So they don't mind going to the other barn and closing it out there. I don't think they're too worried about that, except for the fact that the momentum is totally swung. But going on the road is not a huge issue for this team. So we'll get into some predictions for the very end of the show. We'll talk about game 6 on Friday night. Anything else on this one before we move on?
No, we can do predictions later. Let's go.
Yes. So we all know that frozen pucks are awesome when they're in the back of the other guy's net, but that doesn't mean you want to eat one. That's why Wendy's only ever uses fresh beef that's never seen the inside of a freezer in all of their burgers. Whether you order a Baconator, a Dave Single, or even a JBC, you'll only ever find real fresh beef that's real juicy and loaded with fresh toppings. So download the Wendy's app, check out the latest deals, and order a burger that's only job is being delicious. We'll get to some quick hits here. The Columbus Blue Jackets have fired their head coach, Pascal Vincent. What's interesting about this, they haven't talked about replacement yet. Pierre LeBrun tweeted out that they want to be very thorough. They want to do a ton of interviews, but it's like the same old names. It's Woodcroft and it's a bunch of other guys like that, the guys who have been around the block. What's kind of funny about it is that Johnny Goodrow is about to have his fourth head coach since signing a 7-year deal. He only played 2 full seasons. That's Brad Larson, Mike Babcock, Pascal Vincent, and now whoever they hire next. And he's now had 10 head coaches in 10 years in the NHL. Just inconsistency, which is tough for that.
It's terrible. As a player, that's the worst feeling because they bring in new systems, new ideas. You have to prove yourself every single time, and they always have some new idea for you to unlock your potential. It's like, Johnny picked the wrong spot. He has to regret going to Columbus, you would think, right? Like, it's just been an abject failure.
Yeah. I mean, unless you say like a major breakout from a Fantilli or something like that, which a major breakout for him might be 60, 70 points. You know what I mean? Like, it's not going to be, they're not going to be good at competing anytime soon. Another rumor here, the Flyers continue to explore options around veteran Cam Atkinson. San Jose has trade interest, but Atkinson isn't keen on a move to the Sharks per Darren Dreger. Philly will eat a good chunk of the final year of his contract. Buyout's also an option, as is keeping him in the mix. I think this is just a case of Briere and Tortorella kind of changing things up. It's not their guy, nothing against him, but they didn't bring him here, and they're probably going to look at moving him. And it's a contract they'd love to get away from.
Yeah, he didn't really work out well this past year. Good player, has some value, but if I'm him, you want to go to a contender. He played in Columbus, now he's in Philly, so he hasn't really had much playoff experience. So he wants to go somewhere to play in the playoffs. He's sick of sitting out. But does he have a full new move clause? What's his contract look like?
I don't know off the top of my head. I can look it up.
I bet you that's something GMs will be hesitant giving out moving forward. There was a time when I was playing, it was almost expected. If you signed a longer term deal, 4 years, 5 years plus, you had either a full no move clause or a partial where you pick 7 or 15 teams that you're not allowed to trade to. And if you have that, if you're picking 7 or 15 teams that you're not allowed to talk to for a trade, you could eliminate the whole league per se. Like, you can pick out the teams that you that want you, and you can say no thanks.
Cam Atkinson has a 10-team no trade clause.
Yeah, so he would go down the list and pick 10 teams that have money to acquire him. If he doesn't want to get moved, he can go, okay, Arizona, Chicago, Anaheim, San Jose, let's see, Ottawa,
Columbus.
Go. All the teams that have money that would want to acquire him. No, I'm not going there. And then you're done. If you're Danny Briere, what do you do? So it's something, if I'm a GM, I would be very hesitant to give out. And I know it's part of the bargaining chip. Oh, yeah, you're here forever, but I'd be a little more conservative with that because you see it just look at Toronto and Mitch Marner. That guy controls his fate.
Yeah. So another guy controlling his fate. Friend of the show, this was a surprise. Barclay Goodrow was on waivers. So this is obviously for cap reasons, seeing if there's another team that's interested. Goodrow, his 6 goals in 16 playoff games. So that's when he shows up. That's when you're kind of getting from him. But he hasn't done much in the regular season the last couple of years. There was a report that the Sharks had a unspoken agreement to bring him back, whether they put in the claim or not, or whether they'd work out a trade after the fact. Obviously, it came up with San Jose, but this was a surprise. So we'll see how that shakes out and if anyone claims him.
Did they put him on? I thought they might have been bought him out, but they put him on waivers. Yeah, this is just a move to maybe free up some flexibility, but maybe he's in the minors next year. Who knows?
They might. Yeah, he makes 3.6 for 3 more years.
Remember when they signed him to that? Everybody, bad contract.
Yeah.
Bad contract. And now you're starting to pay off. This is that's a lot of money for a player of his ilk.
The last one here, the Canucks extended Filip Hronek for 8-year extension at 7.25 per. I thought this was exactly right. Like, it's not a discount, but he's not being overpaid. This is probably exactly what the market would bear. And it's a great move for them because he's obviously a good defenseman, but more importantly, he brings out the best in Quinn Hughes. He just complements him very well. He gives Hughes confidence to go and do his thing offensively, but he's also skilled enough to play on the power play, to complement Hughes in that way as well. So I think it's a great move for both sides.
Yeah, I wonder if that seals the fate of Zadorov in Vancouver, his tenure there, which was really good. One of the best defensemen in the playoffs, but you can't pay 3 defensemen for $6-7 million because you got Hughes, you got Hronek, and now Zaddy's going to want a big number attached to his name. So
Yeah, we've just expected since they got eliminated that he was going to hit the open market. He just played so well. He's priced himself out of staying there. So
he's a big ticket, man. He'll get some money. I envision him getting 7. I think that's a good number for him. He's not a puck moving guy, but he makes an impact. So 7 for 7 years, I think is a good spot for him.
Yeah, I don't know. I like the player. I think that's not going to age well if he gets that, but we'll see.
No, they never do. None of them ever. That's the funny thing. So it is what it is. All right, moving on, Tim.
Yeah, Game 6 is Friday night now. So we'll have to figure out what we do for Friday's episode because we won't have another game in between. But what are your thoughts on this one heading back to Edmonton?
Well, I will be the Debbie Downer. Everybody wants a Game 7. I think Florida will get their act together. I've been saying this all series. It's going to be 6. It's going to be Florida Panthers, and that's going to be the end of the series. So I think Bob shows up. That's what I think. I think it's going to be a 2-1 game. Edmonton throws everything at him, and then Bobrovsky stands on his head. That's how I predict it going. He can't have 3 stinkers in a row. This guy's just too good, and he's due for just a magnificent performance. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm going Oppo here. I just seen enough from Edmonton and McDavid that I feel like they're going to extend the series. And I've been rooting for Florida. I picked them for every game so far, basically, and I've been wrong for the last couple. So I think I'm going to switch sides here and go with Edmonton.
Much like the Leafs, when they always manage to squeak back into the series and they're down 3-0, just to feel good about themselves, only to lose it in Game 7. I feel like this will happen in Game 6 for the Oilers. They made a good push. They can feel good about themselves in the offseason. Oh, we regrets the first 3. If we would have just played better, we could have won the Stanley Cup. Let's keep the group together. Connor, resign. Leon, extension. That'll get the job done. But at the end of the day, the Panthers are the better team, top to bottom. I think they're going to win the Stanley Cup. And shout out to my former teammate, Oliver Ekman-Larsson. He has slowly transformed into maybe the best defenseman on the Panthers lineup. Brandon Montour is playing just very questionable ice time and decisions and everything for Montour. He has slipped from that top puck-moving defenseman. It's now OEL. Guy power plays the quarterback. He's out there when they need a goal. He's played really well. Laser of a shot past Skinner to make things interesting and make it 4-2 or 4-3 at that point. So he's been playing good, Tim. Got to give him his props.
It was a weird play on the empty net goal. Did you see him there? He I don't know if he thought he went in or whatever, but he stopped chasing McDavid and he could have tied him up. And, there was 30, 40 seconds left on the clock. There was enough to make a play and he just gave up on that one. So I don't know what was going on there. I think he must have thought it went in.
Yeah. I think you nailed it. Yeah, he gave up. So what a play by Tkachuk too. If they win the cup, that'll be the cover of the book. Him swiping the puck away. Pretty cool. He obviously scored 2 seconds later, but pretty neat little sequence. I like that. But moving on, I think Panthers win. We'll have a Stanley Cup champion on Friday. You think we're going to Game 7. Either way, it's going to be good, Tim. Why don't you lead us out?
Thank you guys for listening. We will see you Friday. Cheers.
Thanks for listening to Dropping the Gloves with John Scott, a member of the Nation Network of Podcasts. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts from to never miss an episode.